Hey guys, and welcome to the video, and this another episode of Hacking Modding News and Info. This is a weekly segment that I do where I go over and cover and highlight some of the information regarding the hacking, modding, homebrews, jailbreak, and emulation scenes that I think viewers of this channel would either find helpful, informative, useful, or just entertaining. There is a strong focus here on consoles and handhelds, but we do cover stuff regarding PCs and phones and other platforms as well from time to time. And pretty much everything I cover is strictly oriented towards the end user. And with that, let's go ahead and take a look at what's gone down over the past week or so. Alright guys, so this week was kind of light, so we should get through this episode in a little bit shorter time. A couple of things I did cover during the week in previous videos I won't be covering here, well, because I did videos for that stuff, so you may want to check out those. This week we will start over at the PSvita scene. Few things to cover here, starting with Consolepedia 3D. Alright, so this is more of like an educational app type deal. It's not really a tool or a utility, but it has some pretty cool information here. This also, by the way, works for the PS4 for those of you that have a modded one. So this is a virtual encyclopedia of video game systems that have been developed in Unity. There's a list of them here. As of right now, there's a total of 17. When you use it, you'll get to see various 3D models of each one of these systems. You also get some interesting information and details and stories and backstories and things like that regarding each system, as well as the release date, how much they cost, how many millions of units they sold, the tech specs, and all of that good stuff. You even get to see the top 5 best-selling games for each one of these consoles, along with the original box art of each game, and it tells you how many millions of units each game sold. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. When you come here over at the releases section, you will find the information regarding to this latest update and what's been added, improved, and all that good stuff. And then the package file is here for those of you on a PS4, and then for those of you who are going to use this on a Vita, the VPK is there as well. Alright, so next we have a couple more homebrews here that have been updated for the Vita, starting with Auto Plugin 2. This is something I've covered a bunch of times in the past. It's a tool that allows you to install and uninstall many plugins with just one click. You can see the list of plugins from here. It's an impressive list. There's a bunch of them, so you can install and uninstall them easily. There's also instructions and a bunch of useful information here on the GitHub, and you know the deal. Just head on over to the releases. The next update is to GePatch. I think even in last week's episode, I talked about an update that was done the previous week to this. This is a plugin for Adrenaline, so you do need the latest version of Adrenaline in order to use this, but it allows you to play various PSP games on your Vita in native resolution. Last count, it was at over 180 games that this supported. Check out the latest release here and make sure you read everything in this one, because it does say that this latest version seems to add flickering to many games. So if you experience this problem, you may have to use the previous version, which is 0.19.1, until they fix it. And continuing with the Vita, we have an update to vita-launcher. This is something that may be useful for some people out there, especially those who have a bunch of games and homebrews and apps installed in their Vita. This is an app game launcher application. Now the Vita has a limitation of 500 bubbles that it can display, but this serves as a workaround to that issue. So it doesn't only work with just Vita games. This also works with PSP, homebrews, and apps. It also includes retro consoles like NES, SNES, the various Game Boys, and things like that. So if you have games from those consoles, you can also display them as well, and you don't have to worry about that 500 bubble limit. Now, the developer does say here that they were able to load 1,600 games and apps. I don't know if that's the limit or just what they had available, but even if it is 1,600, that's more than triple the original amount. There's also a bunch of other features, like you can customize these categories. It has parental control for hiding certain settings. You can also add games to a favorites section, so you don't have to be scrolling and searching through everything. Now, when you head over to the releases, you do need to take note that you must install Adrenaline Launcher VPK first in order for this homebrew to work. So make sure you install this one here, then install Launcher VPK, and you'll be on your way. Alright, and now we head on over to the Switch scene, and we'll kick things off here with a Skyrim mod. This is targeted mainly at those of you who are about to start a new adventure, because it's a sort of alternate start mod. So before you begin your game, if you use this, it gives you a ton of options. There's also some things here that you need to read. Actually, there's a lot you need to read here, because a few chapters of the main quest line have been bypassed here, but also you just have all kinds of, again, features and options that you can start your game with. You can toggle dragons, random dragon spawns, dragon soul, absorption and shouts. You can choose your starting weapons, gear, spells, and standing stone ability. There's a host of other things that you can do here, and there's a lot of information that you'll need to check up on here regarding dragons, factions, things you can turn on and off, just a bunch of stuff. Anyway, in order to get this, you do need to be a registered user on here, which is of course simple and free, and then you'll be able to download the file. Alright guys, and next up we have SE Tools for the Switch. This is by developer tomvita. He is the one who made the Edison fork called Edison SE, and that is included here among this set of tools. This is for those of you who like to look for your own cheats. Maybe these cheats don't exist for the particular game you're playing, and you want to find a certain value of something, whether it's your health, whether you want to change the amount of money you have, items, whatever it may be. Now, a lot of times these values are in a memory location that is dynamic, so it's always changing and it's hard to pinpoint where the value is exactly, so that way you can keep using it all the time and whatnot. When you go sometimes from one level to the next, or you restart the game, it changes. So maybe even if you found the value, it changes when you go to a different area of the game, another level, or you restart it and whatnot. So anyway, this helps you with all of that. It walks you through what you need to do on the Switch side of things, and it's a very detailed walkthrough with examples and everything and pictures. There's also tools here for your PC. One of them is called Pointer Searcher SE, and he shows you how to use this and then how to export everything from here over to Edison SE. This is very informative, again, for those of you who like to find cheats on your own and to look for these values, especially the ones that are always changing. You can go here to the releases, and there you will find two zips, the NX tools. All of this is what goes in your Switch, and then the PC tools, everything in that zip goes, of course, installed to your PC. And the last thing we'll be covering for the Switch is an update to L4t Ubuntu. This is now version 3.2.0. For those of you that like to have Linux on your modded Switch, then this is for you. You can come here to Logic Sunrise. You can check out the highlights of this latest update here. You can then go to switchroot.org, go to download, then click on the Ubuntu link, and then look for switchroot Ubuntu. This latest one, again, it's 3.2.0. It has the date as of right now of October 5th, 2020, and it's a 7-zip file. This is the one you want. Now, if you're a developer and you want to tinker with this a bit, then there's the dev CUDA 7-zip file that you can use. And if you're not familiar with how to install this on your modded Switch, there are a bunch of tutorials here on YouTube and various places online that show you and tell you exactly how to do it. And now we shift on over to the 3DS scene. There's only one thing we'll be covering here, and that is this Wolfenstein for 3DS. Now, if you are a fan of the classic first-person shooter, then this is definitely right up your alley. This was put together by developer Kartik. This runs, believe it or not, at around 50 to 60 frames per second on old and new 3DS systems, and it has sound support. You can see here a couple of screenshots where the top screen is the gameplay, and then the bottom screen has some information and whatnot. You can come here to Logic Sunrise if you want to see the installation instructions and how to get this running on your modded 3DS system. This site is in French, so you may have to use Google Translate to your language in order to be able to understand it. There's a full version, there's a shareware version. The shareware link is here, and the full version link is right underneath that. And we will finish this episode with a few miscellaneous mentions, including the only thing in the world of emulation we'll be covering, and that is the update to Cemu. This is yet another update to this popular Wii U emulator. This is only for PC. It's on version 1.21.3. You can download here down at the bottom from the home page, or go to the download page. Don't forget to check out the changelog, go to details, and as always, you can see what's done in this latest update. This is just a little modest one, but still they did fix some key bug issues. So if you do use this, make sure you update to this latest version. And next up, we have an update to Pk Hex. This is now version 20.10.10. This is a game save editor that works with the core series of Pokemon games that are on various platforms. If you're not familiar with how to use this, you can always come to the tutorials page, and there are all of the tutorials that cover how to manage and or edit your game saves for all these various games on these different platforms. The Switch games are covered here, the GameCube games, the games that are on the various Game Boy systems, the 3DS, and so on. You can head to the download page and snag the latest file from there. This is only for PC users, of course. And if you are already using this, make sure you get this latest update because it is huge, and there's been a ton of bug fixes and improvements that are done in general. Just take a look at this changelog. It is massive, so make sure you get this latest version if you're using it already. And we will wrap things up with an interesting little story regarding PirateBay and their domain names. So last month in September, they did not renew or pay for two of their original domain names. These two domain names are the piratebay.org and thepiratebay.com. Actually, the first one is just piratebay.org. So they went up to auction because they didn't continue paying them. Either someone forgot or they just didn't pay on purpose. So piratebay.org sold for $50,000, just the domain name itself. And then a few days after that, the piratebay.com sold for over $35,000. That's over 85 grand just for those two domain names. Now we can only imagine what the people who bought these domains are going to do with them. You can suspect that if you have a site with those names, you're going to pretty much have a lot of high traffic because people are going to confuse them for the real one. Who knows what's going to happen once people hit up these sites. But anyway, yeah, that's a lot of money for two domains that, this is not something that's retail. These are just domain names that have to deal with a site that is world known for piracy. So again, that is pretty big money for those two specific domain names. Now, the real Pirate Bay actually set up its new domain name. It is called thepiratebay.org, which is a combination of those other two domain names. And that one, they've settled up all the way until 2030. So they plan to be around for a while. Let's see if that holds up. And that is going to do it for this week's episode, guys. You know I appreciate you watching, and if you found anything here informative, useful, helpful, or maybe just entertaining, or you just want to throw some love or appreciation towards the channel, as always, you know the best way to do any of those things is just to hit that like button, maybe subscribe if you haven't already. Much love going out to everyone out there. Be careful, be safe, but have fun, and we will see you on the next one.